If you have been long defeated by a difficulty, it is probably because you have told yourself for weeks, months, and even for years that there is nothing you can do about it. You have so emphasized your inability to yourself that your mind gradually accepted the conclusion upon which you have insisted. And when your mind is convinced, you are convinced. For as you think, so are you. But on the contrary, when you employ this new and creative concept, I can do all things through God, then you develop a new mental slant. Emphasize and re-emphasize that positive attitude, and you will finally convince your own consciousness that you can do something about difficulties. When at least your mind becomes convinced, astonishing results will begin to happen. Of a sudden, you discover that you have the power you would never acknowledge. I played golf with a man who was not only an excellent golfer but a philosopher as well. As we went around the golf course, the game itself drew out of him certain gems of wisdom, for one of which I shall ever be grateful. I hit a ball into the rough, into some high grass. When we came up to my ball, I said in some dismay, "Now just look at that. I certainly am in the rough. I have a bad lie. It is going to be tough getting out of here." My friend grinned and said, "Didn't I read something about positive thinking in your books?" Sheepishly I acknowledged that such was the case. "I wouldn't think negatively about that lie of yours," he said. "Do you think you could get a good hit if this ball were laying out on the fairway on the short grass?" I said I thought so. "Well," he continued, "why do you think you could do better out there than here?" "Because," I replied, "the grass is cut short on the fairway, and the ball can get away better." Then he did a curious thing. "Let's get down on our hands and knees," he suggested, "and examine the situation. Let's see just how this ball does lie." So we got down on our hands and knees, and he said, "Observe that the relative height of the ball here is about the same as it would be on the fairway, the only difference being that you have about 5 or 6 inches of grass above the ball." Then he did an even more whimsical thing. "Notice the quality and character of this grass," he said. He pulled off a blade and handed it to me. "Chew it," he said. I chewed, and he asked, "Isn't that tender?" "Why, yes," I replied. "It certainly does seem to be tender grass." "Well," he continued, "an easy swing of your number 5 iron will cut through that grass almost like a knife." And then he gave me this sentence, which I am going to remember as long as I live, and I hope you will also. "The rough is only mental." In other words, he continued, it is rough because you think it is. In your mind, you have decided that here is an obstacle which will cause you difficulty. The power to overcome this obstacle is in your mind. If you visualize yourself lifting that ball out of the rough, believing you can do it, your mind will transfer flexibility, rhythm, and power to your muscles, and you will handle that club in such a manner that the ball will rise right out of there in a beautiful shot. All you need to do is to keep your eye on the ball and tell yourself that you are going to lift it out of that grass with a lovely stroke. Let the stiffness and tension go out of you. Hit it with exhilaration and power. Remember, the rough is only mental. To this day, I remember the thrill, the sense of power and delight I had in the clean shot that dropped the ball to the edge of the green. That is a very great fact to remember in connection with difficult problems. The rough is only mental. Your obstacles are present, all right. They are not fanciful, but they are not actually so difficult as they seem. Your mental attitude is the most important factor. Believe that Almighty God has put in you the power to lift yourself out of the rough by keeping your eye firmly fixed on the source of your power. Affirm to yourself that through this power you can do anything you have to do. Believe that this power is taking the tension out of you, that this power is flowing through you. Believe this, and a sense of victory will come. Now take another look at that obstacle that has been bothering you. You will find that it isn't so formidable as you thought. Say to yourself, the rough is only mental. I think victory, I get victory. Remember that formula. Write it on a piece of paper. Put it in your wallet. Stick it up on your mirror where you shave each morning. Put it over the kitchen sink. Put it on your dressing table and on your desk. Keep looking at it until its truth dries into the depths of your consciousness, until it permeates your whole mental attitude, until it becomes a positive obsession. I can do all things through God, which strengthen me.